Hey, Joe.
Hey, Laura, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I like your peace sign in the back. Very cool.
I'm such a Martha Stewart decorator, aren't I? It's a hula hoop.
Oh, looks like a peace sign. It's a peace
And
sign.
we made it into a peace sign. But yeah, it's
Very
I,
cool.
I like twinkly lights. So I figured I'm keeping it up. It was just for the holidays, but most of the Trump administration. Oh.
How you doing? Okay.
So I'm a little sad. Do you know Tom Mahady?
I don't think so.
So he was Cindy Ziff knows him. His very, very good friend is her husband. So Cindy called me today. He's a very good environmentalist and peace activist and whatever. And he's in the hospital. He's very, very gravely ill. So I just got back from visiting him. So I'm a little I'm a little like just drained from that. It's sad, but other than that, I'm good. Other than that,
My mom died last week.
oh my God.
Isn't that like nothing beats that? Like when your
How
mom
are you
dies.
smiling? How are you? Oh my God.
I mean, it's life goes on, right? So, hey, Joe Sheridan. Hello,
What's
hello.
up there, Mr. Reynolds? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you.
Good to hear that. So, you ready for another horseshoe crab season?
Heck yeah.
I apologize. I don't think I sent an email to your wife, Robin, and like she's like one of the captains. I hope she's not angry at me.
Oh no, she's not angry. I should have her here shortly.
Okay.
So
All right, good. Are you home? You're home, right?
I'm home. Yes,
Okay, good.
I'm
Good.
home. Myself and the cat. Well, Joe Reynolds was saying, I have to call you Joe Reynolds because Brody might hear.
Hi, Christine.
He said, that he didn't send you an email. You're a captain.
It's okay.
All right, now here, come sit over
I can
here.
listen over here. This one.
Okay.
Hey, Robin.
Hi, how are you?
Do you
Good.
want
How
to
are
sit
you?
here too?
Good.
No, I'm on camera. Do you want to sit here with me? All right, I'm gonna un-
It's exciting. This is the first time we've had a horseshoe crab beach captain meeting.
Yeah.
So it's
Hi.
we've been doing this for 10 years. It's the first time we've been doing this. So I'm kind of excited. We never really can meet because everybody has such different schedules and it's hard to find a place. But really one of the good things that came out of like all this horrible COVID thing was like Zoom meetings. Like I could sit in, my house in my slippers and have a meeting. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's fun, kind of. I do miss the lighthouse though.
The lighthouse?
I mean, no, the spy house.
Spy house.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We'll probably still do that once COVID's all done. We'll probably still do that.
Right.
Hey, Christine, sorry I got confused about the time. I apologize for that.
I'm sorry, I was retarded.
Hi,
My
Christine.
fault. Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, well, you know what? I set alarms so that I attend meetings on time. And I set the alarm for the wrong time, thinking it was 7 meeting rather than 7:30, and my bad.
In college, I would always forget to like turn my clock forward or backwards, for the seasons. So I was either like showing up class like real early, like an hour early, or like an hour late. So that was the story of my college. So who do we wait for? So let's see. Frank Huza, I think will show up. I think so.
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
I don't see you though.
I don't. Let's see.
But I hear you, so that's good. Okay, let's
Yeah.
see. Let's do roll call then. Shannon, do you know Laura Shannon showing up?
I do not know. I will text her. That looks gorgeous. Thank you.
I know Linda Cohen can't make it. Abby can't make it.
Uh-oh.
Is Carissa there?
I'm here.
Hi, Carissa.
Hi.
Is Sarah there? Sarah, I see you. Sarah. Is Linda S there? Linda S. I see Paul. I don't know about Ron.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Is Kira there? Kim, I see you. Hello, Kim. And then Frank is there, right? I don't know why I can't see Frank.
Yes, I'm here.
His team. Let's wait a little bit longer and see who will else show up.
Come on, kid.
7:30 now, so let's just wait like a minute or two and see who else might show up.
Are we allowed to drink beer while you're training us?
We can share with everybody else.
I put it in my coffee mug.
Quick.
Oh, now I'm jealous.
It's a Zoom chip. I'm texting Shannon.
Okay, well, there's Linda.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got here.
No, that's okay. It's all good. And then
Oh,
Kira.
oh,
Kira? Okay, Kira. Okay, good. You're
oh.
it says Jordan. So I'm just gonna,
Under my fiance's name, but I'm Kira.
it's all good. Okay, so I think we have everybody that's Frank. There's Frank. Okay, why don't we get started then? So welcome everybody. Hello. My name is Joe Reynolds. I'm with Safe Coastal Wildlife, which is the sponsoring organization or lead organization for horseshoe crab monitoring activities in Raritan Bay and St. Bay. Formerly, we were the Bayshore Regional Watershed Council a couple years ago, and we have morphed or evolved into a nonprofit called Safe Coastal Wildlife. Pretty much doing the same thing we've been doing in years past, but now we're a nonprofit. So we can do more and we can do it better. So we're happy about that. So one thing we've been doing for a long time is monitoring horseshoe crabs along Sandhook Bay and Raritan Bay. And of course, COVID came around last year and it sort of changed everything around and changed the way we did things a little bit. We didn't really invite any new people to come in and everybody could hear me, right? Sometimes I just want to stop here. Everybody could hear me, right? Okay, good. So we didn't really get a chance to train anybody new last year. And I was sad about that because there was really some excellent people that wanted to help us, but I just didn't feel comfortable with COVID and everything, starting new people. So we just invited people that have been doing it for a while to monitor horseshoe crabs. We didn't get a chance to do Sandy Hook last year because of COVID. The park closed at like 7, 8 o'clock at night, and we don't start monitoring until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So there's just no way they would let us on their facility to count crabs. They had limited staff anyway to begin with. So there was just no way they would let us on there. So I'm hoping this year be a little bit better. I'm hoping this year we can get to go onto Sandy Hook. I'm still not totally sure. I'm hoping we can. We'll see what happens. But I didn't put the permit in yet for either Sandy Hook or for New Jersey State. I do have the permit for U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I essentially need 3 permits to do this. I need a permit from the state of New Jersey. I need a permit for U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and I need a permit from Sandy Hook from the National Park Service. So I have 1 out of the 3. And then next week I'll do the other 2 to submit them, and hopefully we'll get all approved. I'm always sure we're going to get approved by the state. I'm never quite sure what's going to happen with the National Park Service. They tend to be a little finicky over there. As Laura will, I'm sure, attest, that could be a little tricky over at Sandy Hook at times, monitoring horseshoe crabs. So this year, since with COVID and everything, and also I wanted to expand the amount of beach captains we have at each site. So normally for the last 10 years, we have 2 beach captains at each site. And that way, if somebody gets sick or if somebody has something going on, there's always somebody to fill in. But with COVID and everything, I just thought it'd be good to expand it to 3 beach captains. And that way, if somebody does get sick, they don't feel obligated to show up. Sometimes, when you're sick, you really want to be there, but with COVID and everything and so many sicknesses, who else, who knows what else is going to show up, what other kind of pandemic will show up in the future. So I just wanted to play it safe and thought, this way it really takes the pressure off you. If you're feeling under the weather, if you're feeling sick, if you just don't feel you had a bad day, you don't feel like showing up, you don't have to be there because there's 2 other beach captains there to fill in for you. So we're gonna try to do 3 beach captains at each site. So why don't we stop right here and let's just figure out who's going to be at each site. So obviously the people that have been doing this for a long time will still be at their same locations, and they'll still be the lead beach captains. But we're also going to add one other person to those sites, or a few other people to those sites. So Shannon Evans, who I don't think is with us. Shannon, are you there? Shannon Evans and Laura Bagwell. Laura's there. I see Laura.
Oh, I know.
Hello.
And that's her boyfriend over there, right?
Oh,
He's like essentially another beach captain because he's always there every single time. So if you need somebody.
So Shannon and Laura have been beach captains for a long, long time, since really we began, for over 10 years now. And they've been doing a superb job doing Sandy Hook. And they work with the math students over there and other people as well too. We're gonna add though Linda Cohen. I don't know, Laura, do you know Linda Cohen at all?
I'm not sure.
Linda's been around for a long time. She told me she's been to your site monitoring crabs in the past. She's like a professional environmental educator. She's been around for a long, long time, and she has a passion for all these things. And so she lives near Sandy Hook, so she said she'd help out. So she's really, really super nice. And so I thought it'd be you, Shannon, and then Linda Cohen being the beach captains over there.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah.
She can't
Yeah,
make it
sounds
tonight. I think it's her birthday tonight, so happy birthday to her.
Aw.
I'll send the information to her to relate this. And then over at Atlantic Highlands, it's myself, and then Joe Sheridan and Robin. And then Abby's also joining us. Abby's a fabulous person. Abby's been helping us out for a long time now. Her and her family are just wonderful people. They live in Atlantic Highlands. Abby goes to Mass now. She's a student over there. And
cool.
probably when I'm dead, Abby will just take over Save Coastal. So she's the next generation. So, we're the original Star Trek, and then she's the next generation. So in many cases, it's probably maybe better than the original Star Trek. I don't know. It depends who you talk. So it'll be the 3 of us, or I don't know, as many people as we want. And then so this is where it gets a little tricky now, because for a long time at Leonardo, which by the way, Leonardo's been doing really fabulous work over there. There's more crabs at Leonardo than ever before. Leonardo often competes with Cliffwood Beach with the most crabs in the bay. Leonardo's really a wonderful site. We want to keep that site. But we've had some issues with beach captains. The 2 longstanding beach captains, Sue Provis and Donna, had other things going on. Sue retired from work and she wanted to spend more time with her family. And Donna had some other issues going on as well too. So they had both left at the same time. So last year we didn't really get a chance to fill that position because we weren't taking on any new people. But this year, I think hopefully we could do a training session. We could add some new people. So Sarah Stewart, right? You live near there, right?
I'm in Belford, yeah. So I'm about 5-10 minutes away.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm going to put you as one of the beach captains over at Leonardo then, okay? And then Linda, where do you live? Linda F.
Well, I live in Middletown, but it's like about 10 to 15 minute drive for me. It's the closest site for me too.
Oh, cool.
So then why don't I put you 2 over there
Yes.
for Leonardo?
Yes,
And then
we know each other, so.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I figured. And then Carissa, you also live near in that area too, right, Carissa?
I live like I'm in Port Monmouth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna put you three over at Leonardo then, okay?
Okay.
And Chris, have you monitored crabs before in the past?
No, I haven't. But like throughout COVID and like in the past years, I would go to the bay and like help them out like that when they're flipped over. I'm friends with Ed, so he like showed me how to do it over the summer like properly. So I've been doing like I usually go to the walk at the beach by like the Spy House often in like the mornings, where if I see him at nighttime as well.
Okay, great. Okay, and then Linda and Sarah, you have monitored crabs in the past, right? Both of
Yes, and at Leonardo more recently.
you? Okay, good. Okay, so then you could show Carissa what needs to be done and stuff like that. And things like that. Okay, and then in Keyport's also just doing really well over there too. Certainly want to keep that spot. We got some really good beach captains over there. We got Paul Mandela, and then we got Ron. And then I think I want to put also, I think Ron is sort of backing off a little bit. Ron's got some things going on. So I want to keep Paul. And then I think Kira, where's Kira? Kira, where do you live?
I'm in Tinton Falls.
And then Kim, where do you live?
I'm in Farmingdale.
Okay.
I'm coming from Asbury, so we're all coming from kind of far
Yeah.
away.
Nowhere close to Keyport.
I'm flexible. I'll go wherever. you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, same. I'm willing to travel.
But there's good food in Keyport.
Oh, even better.
It's true. Keyport does have some of the best restaurants in the area. Too. All right. So it's crazy how that works out. So Paul, Kira, and Kim, why don't I just put you over in Keyport then? Okay.
Sure.
And then
Sounds great,
Kira.
Joe.
Okay. And then Kira and Kim, have you monitored crabs at all in the past?
No.
No.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
So
match made in heaven.
there's some really good people. In addition to Paul, there's some really good people over there.
Yeah, Mike Palmisano, the
Yeah.
environmental commission guy. He knows a lot. He's been very helpful.
Yeah, so there's some really good people over there to show you the ropes. And I'll go over some things as well too. But I'm just going to put you down. I'm going to put you with Paul, Kira, Kim, and Paul as the three beach captains over there. And so that leaves us with Aberdeen. And Aberdeen, for a long time now, has been really the #1 site. I often tell people, you know, if you went to Cliffwood Beach at night and we blindfolded you and magically just took you to Delaware Bay and took your blindfold off, you would still think you're at Cliffwood Beach because there's just that much crab activity. It really is just an amazing place over there. Still not exactly sure why it's such an amazing place. I think it has something to do with the topography and makeup of the beach itself, and maybe has something to do with the worms over there, the food or something, but it's just really an amazing site.
Yeah, we've been feeding the horseshoe crabs over there. That's why they come back.
Yeah.
Really?
Steak and potatoes.
Chum.
Potato chips.
So Frank and Christine, unfortunately, I didn't get a third captain for you guys. But hopefully if you know anybody over there at your site that would be a good third beach captain, let me know. We could include them.
Sure. Thank you.
But otherwise, I think, you know, you guys, I know Frank is really, really good. I know if Christine can't make it, Frank could usually be over there and vice versa. But you know, if you know somebody over there at the Cliffwood Beach site that would be a good beach captain, it's been there for a long time, let me know.
Jen is wonderful, but I don't have her phone number. And I don't know Jen's last name. Jen is great.
All right, well, when things start up and you can, you know, ask her and see if she wants to be a beach captain. You know where she lives?
Jen lives in, I believe she lives in Cliffwood Beach. I don't have her email address or anything, but if you have her email address, I would write her and ask if she wants to be beach captain.
What's her
because
last name?
I don't know her last name, but she's super enthusiastic and she's blonde and in her 40s and full of energy and very local to the site.
All right, well,
I think her name is Jen, right?
okay.
Frank, you know who I'm talking about. Do you know her last name?
I can't think of it at the moment, but if is it Alex's wife?
She's single.
I'll look it up and we'll find out who she is.
Okay. And she's really attended pretty much every survey. Yeah.
Christine, you know so much about her, but you don't know her last name?
I don't know her last name. I've seen her on the beach.
All right. Well, again, if you see her, or if we try to figure out, then you could ask her and see what's going on.
Hey, just one hint, Christine. We have those releases and the sign-in forms. If we have any of those old ones, her name would be on there.
Yes, of course, if I didn't recycle them.
Okay, don't worry about it.
If you what's her name again? I'll look at those. Maybe she signed a new one.
Yeah, Jennifer something.
All right. I'll take a look.
Yeah, and I'm going to look and see if I saved the sign-in sheets, but I think I recycled them.
Okay.
Cool.
So those are the beach captains. So is everybody cool with the site that they're at then? Any complaints, speak now or forever hold your peace. You all good? Okay, so let's get to some COVID safety things. So in years past, we would just let people show up. I would just send an email out and saying, hey, we need some volunteers and show up. And, we never knew how many people were going to show up. Usually we got a good turnout of people. Sometimes we didn't. Sometimes if the weather's lousy, we just got a few people. But nevertheless, we never really knew how many people were going to show up. So last year with COVID, we did pre-registration. And we've been doing pre-registration for all the events that we do at Safe Coastal Wildlife now. And it really works out well because we know how many people are going to show up, more or less. And if something happens, if the weather's lousy, if I need to cancel or something, it's very easy now just to contact those people that signed up and to cancel that event. So I think going forward now, we're going to do pre-registration for everything. And that includes horseshoe crab monitoring. So I will send out emails to people and ask them to pre-register for the event. And then I will send you the attendance list. Now, there was some confusion last year. You as beach captains don't need to register for your site. So we already know you guys are going to be there. So this is just up for the general public to show up to help out. So you don't need to register yourself for your site. Having said that, each site's a little bit different. So I know at Keyport and at Leonardo, you guys historically don't tag horseshoe crabs. And what I mean by that is we have these little plastic tags that we drill holes in crabs and stick the plastic tags into the crab. And that way, it gives us, if the crab is found again, it gives us an idea where that crab moved around. Some people like it. Some people don't like it.
I don't know why we don't do that. Actually, I think at one point, I think we did, but I don't know why did Leonardo stop? Should we just, start it up again? Is it a skills issue?
We can do it.
Huh?
Some of us can do it. But I think maybe because there were very few crabs at Leonardo for such a long time.
Your beach captains, Sue and Donna at that site didn't want to do it. So okay. I respect them and I just said, it's fine.
No, I'm perfectly capable of doing that. I've tagged many of them.
I've got the bit. I have the rulers.
So the thing is, tagging, it gives us a limited amount of information. So if you as a beach captain don't want to do it, that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. If you do want to do it, that's great. But the only stipulation I have is you have to have somebody who's comfortable drilling a hole in a crab, and it takes a little practice and it takes a little effort, and it has to be like a well-organized crew, because not only are you drilling holes in a crab, but you have to measure that crab, and you have to do it in a sort of speedy fashion, so you're not putting too much stress on that crab. You also have to put some antiseptic on the crab and stuff like that. It's all rigmarole. You got to follow that procedure. And if you know, if it's not followed, you're putting some stress and some injury on that crab. So that's the only thing I say. Now we only get 400 tags per year, per season. Divvy that up among those sites that do it. But you know, Linda and Sarah and who else am I putting in there? And Carissa. If you wanted to tag crabs, think about it. Let me know. Send me an email, and I'll give you some tags to do it this season. And if that's the case, then you know I wouldn't. The reason I'm bringing this up is because at those sites that do tag horseshoe crabs, you're going to need some extra help. But those places that don't tag horseshoe crabs, you only need like 5 people at that site, really, right? Because you just need some people to count crabs. So you don't need, you know, a whole mess of people. And this is the problem in the past, that we would have people show up, like we would have 20 people show up in Atlantic Highlands to monitor horseshoe crabs. We don't need 20 people to monitor horseshoe crabs in Atlantic Highlands. So, you know, we just need, you know, at most, really, if we're just counting crabs, we just need like 5 people. And sometimes we don't even need that many, but, you know, so that's, you know, so Laura, I'm going to ask you because Shannon and Linda Cohen's not here, but do you want to still tag crabs? Do you think it's important, or is that something you want to not do anymore? I know you
had from the past few years, we've had such few crabs. So I know we will tag them, but we always end up with an excess of tags. So if we're still willing to do it, but if you want to just give us a fewer number of tags, you know, however you want to work it, but we're willing to do it if you want.
Okay. And then Christine, are you still, and Frank, are you guys still want to tag crabs?
I'm willing to tag.
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. So for those sites that are tagging crabs, then we'll increase the amount of people that show up to like 10 or something. But again, we want to just make sure that there is somebody who is qualified to drill, that's comfortable with those crabs. I mean, the last thing I want is somebody picking up a crab and dropping it because they're scared of a horseshoe crab. So that's just going to totally stress out the crab. So we don't want that.
Hey, Joe, I do know that, I mean, in addition to maybe the beach captains deciding they didn't want to do it at Leonardo, is that we wouldn't have that many people at Leonardo. You know, the times that I went, I mean, it was really just a handful. So I don't know if that was all we could get, or were they sent elsewhere because there was no tagging, but there wasn't a lot of people there.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's going to change. Since we've become a nonprofit, we've got lots of people now showing up to our events.
Okay.
We don't really have a problem with people signing up for the most part. So I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you'll probably get a good amount of people, unless the weather's lousy or something. You know, if it's a good night, if it's a nice night, you'll probably get some people at that site.
So what's a good number, a basic number, if you are going to tag?
So you need like 2 or 3 people in the water looking for crabs. You need somebody on the beach to write down the data. And then you need like 3 or 4 people on the beach to tag the crab and measure the crab and put the antiseptic on. And then you need like a couple of like something to runners to run the crabs from where the people are counting and then into the water and stuff like that.
Are we up to 10 or so?
Yeah,
Like,
so 10 is a good number.
Right, like 6 would be too few. You know.
You actually need 2 people to take data, because one person is taking the count data And another person is taking the tag data, and the
Right.
length of the crab and sex of the crab. And
Yeah.
the number of the tag.
Right.
Joe, I've also done tagging for you guys. So if you wanted to do it at Keyport, we could also do it there, but I'm okay either way. So
Yeah, you have some vocal people over there that don't want to do it. And
yeah,
so
that's what I thought.
I don't want to piss them off.
But if you need someone to help train people do tagging, I could always go another day and show them because I've done it before a lot of times. So
Okay. All right, that's cool. Yeah, that'll probably be a big help. So keep in mind with COVID though, the reason we didn't do any tagging last year is because of COVID. We couldn't really social distance when you're tagging crabs. This year, I'm kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that it won't be so bad, the COVID. People are getting the vaccine and we're outdoors, but nevertheless, we're still going to be wearing masks. So the protocol is still to wear masks in May and June, unless something amazing happens and the CDC and the government and says we don't need to wear masks anymore, at least when we're outdoors, then we won't have to. But I would think, things being the way they are, we'll probably still be wearing masks for quite a while. So when we're monitoring horseshoe crabs, we still have to wear our masks, our face coverings, and we're going to try to social distance as best we can. So even if you're tagging crabs, try to just keep 5-6 feet apart, or certainly don't laugh really don't laugh really loud in somebody's face, stuff like that.
Joe, I'm just wondering, so how do you tag socially distanced? Because doesn't one person drill and the other person holds the crab?
Yep, you got it. That's it. Yeah, Linda, you're breaking up a little bit. Yeah, so you need somebody to hold the crab.
Right.
Then somebody's drilling a hole on the side of that crab, right? So, and then you need somebody to measure the crab, and then you need somebody to write down the data. The person who's writing the data can social distance.
Right.
And maybe the person who's measuring the crab could just measure quickly and then back off. But that person who's drilling and holding the crab, maybe it'd be best if they were friends, they lived together, or they were a married couple or something. If we could find that, that'd be great. Whatever you guys feel comfortable doing. If you don't feel comfortable that night tagging crabs, again, don't tag crabs. The most important thing we do is count crabs. That's what really, that's the most important data we have to get, is counting crabs. Tagging is secondary. So if you don't have enough people, if only 5 people show up, then just count crabs. If more people show up, then you could start tagging crabs. But the most important thing we do is counting crabs. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't think your crew is mature enough or sophisticated enough or has the experience enough to tag crabs, don't do it. Don't feel, I often tell people, don't feel you have to do something because I said you had to do it. Don't. Whatever you feel comfortable doing, that's what you should do. Because if you don't feel comfortable doing something, guaranteed, that's how people get hurt. That's how animals get hurt. That's how accidents happen. So only do things you feel comfortable doing as a beach captain with your crew. Okay, so we're gonna do pre-registration. Everybody has to wear masks, social distance as much as possible. And so those are basically the COVID-19 safety rules, right? That we're gonna be enforcing. And then also we've, Save Coastal Wildlife, our nonprofit, has joined the Horseshoe Crab Recovery Council, which is this national organization that has organizations from Maine down to Florida and even in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean, all over. And their job is to protect horseshoe crabs and things like that. We have joined that organization. We are part of that organization now. So we're very excited about that. We want to share our data with them. They want to have our data because there's nobody else monitoring horseshoe crabs in Raritan Bay and Sandhook Bay downstream from New York City. And so I don't know, for those new people, or maybe those people that have been around for a while, you don't know, but New York State still harvests horseshoe crabs. There's no moratorium on horseshoe crabs. So in the state of New Jersey, we have a moratorium on harvesting horseshoe crabs. You can't do it, but other states do. Other states like Delaware does harvest horseshoe crabs, but they only harvest male crabs. And that's true for some other states as well. But New York State is one of the few states that doesn't really have any protection at all for horseshoe crabs, or very little protection for horseshoe crabs. And so there's still people that harvest horseshoe crabs as bait, not as food. We don't eat horseshoe crabs, though there are people in Asia that do. We don't eat horseshoe crabs in the United States of America. When we harvest horseshoe crabs, it's primarily for bait. And the bait, the things they're trying to catch are whelks and eels. And then those things are sold overseas to Europe and to Asia. So there's a market for horseshoe crabs, and primarily for female horseshoe crabs, because the females are bigger by 30%. They have the eggs. And so when they go looking for horseshoe crabs, it's primarily during May, June, and July, when the females are out and they have the eggs. So one reason why our horseshoe crab population is not as good as Delaware Bay or other places is because New York State still harvests horseshoe crabs for bait. And they harvest, I always forget the number, but it's like 250,000 horseshoe crabs at least. Now they do it in Long Island Sound, and New York Harbor, and other places. The one place they don't do it is in Jamaica Bay, because that's protected by the National Park Service, but all other places. And I've seen them out when I used to work at the Spy House every day over at the Bayshore Waterfront Park. I would see the trawlers in the bay harvesting horseshoe crabs on the New York side. So you would see them doing it. And they can get, like, what, Frank, tell me if you're still with us, Frank, like $5 a crab or something like that, right?
Yeah, $5 for a female, $2.50 for a male.
Yeah, so that's $5 a crab. If you get 1,000 crabs, I mean that's a lot of money. So
Yeah, well, there's a limit. There's right now 50 crabs per person. Per person, man. And you don't need a license to do it either. So
yeah, so that's, if I'm going to Staten Island, I need bait for something, I can get a certain amount of crabs as an individual myself. I could just harvest horseshoe crabs myself and use that as bait. And I could do that every day. I could just go to Staten Island every day and find horseshoe crabs and use that as bait. And so, yeah, as I mentioned before, New York State doesn't have a lot of protection for horseshoe crabs. We have been putting pressure on New York State, but still they still haven't put much protection for horseshoe crabs. We hope that will change in the future. And this is why we monitor horseshoe crabs, so we can gain data. And this is why we also joined the Horseshoe Crab Recovery Council, so we could share our data with them and show them, hey, our horseshoe crab population is not doing that well. The reason it's not doing that well is because of New York State, and hopefully New York State can do something to give more protection to our horseshoe crabs. So the reason I bring that up is not only enlighten you about the reason why we monitor horseshoe crabs, but also too that we might, underline the word might, have to modify or change the way we've been counting horseshoe crabs in the past. So for the last 10 or 11 years, we've been just monitoring 1,000 feet of beach. And we just go down a line and count all the crabs within 1,000 feet of that beach. Right, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we've been doing, right?
That's correct.
We just walk down 1,000 feet of beach. And we don't turn around, we don't come back. We just walk down 1,000 feet of beach and count whatever crabs are in that area. We might have to change it where we do 1,000 feet of beach, but instead of walking down that beach, we might have to use quadrants, where we walk a certain distance and then we throw this plastic quadrant down and count all the crabs in that area. I don't think it's going to happen this year, and it might never happen, but I just bring that up just in case. And if that does happen, if we do have to change the way we monitor horseshoe crabs using quadrants, we're probably going to have to make it later for the tide to go out, because right now we monitor horseshoe crabs at the height of high tide or around that time period. And so if we're going to use quadrants, we're going to have to wait an hour or two after high tide in order for us to count those crabs. And that means right now we start counting crabs around 8:30. We would do it around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Now, I don't know about you, but I need my beauty sleep. I need lots of beauty sleep. I'm not getting any younger. So that's really late. And I'm sure it's really late for you guys. So hopefully they won't make us do that. But just a heads up, I tell you guys, so you'll know ahead of time that we might, I don't think it's going to happen this year, but maybe next year we might have to change things. Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Hey, Joe, we would count the crabs that are in the water as well as the ones that were on shore. So you could basically have two locations, at the same, latitude. So is that that wouldn't, with the quadrants, you would miss some of the count the way we were doing it.
If we go down that road, our numbers will go down a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see. I mean, I think they want to see that our numbers are pretty similar to what everybody else is finding, right? So the Horseshoe Crab Recovery Council just wants to make sure our numbers are not like really like far above or far below anybody else in the area. So as long as our data is pretty consistent with everybody else's, I think they might keep us saying, hey, you guys can still do what you want or still do, because I mean, the protocol we're following is the protocol they do down in Chesapeake Bay. I didn't make this up. I didn't make this protocol up. It's what they're doing down in Chesapeake Bay. And I just said, oh, that's really good. It's really easy. We can do that. We don't need to follow quadrants. So they might just say, okay, you guys are cool. You can do that. Keep on doing what you're doing. I'm hoping they'll say that, but we'll see what happens.
Quadrants would be ridiculous because they swim out of it, and plus it's dark and you can't see them. Even if you have some sort of a fence put around them, they're going to swim under it, and it'll be a mess. I don't know how they think they can do that. The most you could get would be maybe one or two crabs, if you're lucky. Anyway, I hope you don't do that.
Yeah, I know. I hope so too, Linda. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, this is what they do down in Delaware Bay. They use the quadrants down there. But they have so many more crabs. I mean, Cliffwood Beach would probably be fine. I know Atlantic Highlands we would suffer. I know Sandy Hook would suffer, and maybe some other sites too. So we'll see. Hopefully not. But again, I just threw that out there too.
Another question. So do they just do a random set, placing of the quadrant? I mean, it's not contiguous, is it?
So they'll go down a line. They'll do like 1,000 feet of beach or whatever it might be. And then I think they randomly just put down a quadrant. So they'll walk maybe 10 feet, put down a quadrant. They'll walk 5 feet, put down a quadrant, walk 15 feet, put down a quadrant, and just count the beach. And then just count the crabs in that quadrant. Okay. Any other questions that I've gone over? I've gone over like a lot of information. Anybody have any questions? Let me just stop here and see if anybody has any questions before I go any further.
I got one more. The pre-registration, is that just one time or is that for each event?
Yeah, it's gonna be for each event.
For each event, okay.
Yeah, and then I'll email you the registration so you know the people who are showing up.
Okay.
Which, thank you for bringing that up, Sarah. So it is vitally important that I have your cell phone number, because the way we communicate is by cell phone, by texting. I always text everybody. Texting is the easiest. So if I don't have your cell phone number, and I probably, especially for the new people, like Linda, I don't think I have your cell phone. Sarah, I'm not sure if I do. Kira, Kim, I don't think I have, and Chris, I don't think I have your cell phone number. So if you could just email it to me so I can put that in there. And again, that's how we communicate in horseshoe crab land. By just texting.
And we each member of those of us who are the captains, we should have each other's cell phone numbers too.
Well, that's up to you. So, I mean, if you
We'll
want
need to be sure to have, in case one of us can't make it, then we'll have to share the others.
yeah. So Linda, you could,
Yeah, we'll
share
share.
that with Sarah and Chris and stuff like that. That's up to you guys. But from my end, if something's going on, I just need to communicate with you as soon as possible. And texting, it just really works out well. I promise you, I won't text you at midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's only for horseshoe crab monitoring. I swear to you, it's only for horseshoe crab monitoring. That's it, nothing else. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Kara, for saying that to me. Okay, so before we go any further, what time is it? Okay, I don't want to keep you too much longer. So a couple things though. So usually the weather's not always perfect when we monitor horseshoe crabs. Sorry to say, it's usually cold, really cold in May. And then it could be really damp and humid and wet in June. So very rarely, we usually get only one really nice night out of the 4 times that we monitor horseshoe crabs. We monitor horseshoe crabs during new moon and full moon evenings in May and June. So 4 nights, 2 in May and 2 in June is when we monitor horseshoe crabs. And usually those nights, only 1 out of those 4 are really, really nice. The other times they're pretty crappy. So, but we often go out. I very rarely cancel these events unless the weather is just totally unsafe. Unless the event is so extreme where it's just downpouring, the roads are all flooded, things like that. Or, it's there's no beach. Maybe it's just there's a storm brewing, there's a nor'easter, and there's just no beach. It's been my experience that the horseshoe crabs don't come out when there's lots of chop on the water. It's very wavy. Because they're fearful they're going to get turned over if they come out and start mating. So if it's conditions like that, I'll cancel. But if it's like a light rain or the perfect example, a couple years ago, there was a thunder and lightning storm, like around 6 o'clock at night. And I swear to God, I kid you not, by like 8:30, by exactly the time we were starting horseshoe crab monitoring, it all stopped, the clouds cleared, and it was a beautiful night. So I can't tell you how many texts and emails I got from people saying, is the horseshoe crab monitoring still on? One thing I'm pretty good at is looking at weather radar and predicting when it's going to start and when it's going to stop. So years of working with the Monmouth County Park System and trying to figure out the weather has made me pretty good at forecasting it by looking at the weather radar. So I very rarely cancel this unless it's really unsafe. So the reason I bring that up is just plan to be there unless you get a text from me saying it's not going to happen. And I'll usually send a text like 4 or 5 o'clock and just tell you it's not going to happen. Any questions? So when we do go forward, we do go with our horseshoe crab monitoring. This is the most important sheet. This is the tally sheet. So this is what you guys have to make sure is filled out correctly. Robin Sheridan does an excellent job over in Atlantic Highlands doing this. Really good job. And so this is the data I need at the end of the night. So I'm just gonna conclude with this. This is the most important thing. This is the data I need at the end of the night. And I need it as soon as possible. So
Did you hear that?
No.
He said good things about you.
So once you guys are done, try to tally all this up and then just text it to me or email it to me, but I need it as soon as possible so I can send out the email to everybody and let them know what we got. So this is the most important. So solitary crabs, we need single males, single females, total males, total females. Swimming pairs. If you find a swimming pair, this is for the new captains. don't pick it up and tag that swimming pair. We don't want to separate them. They're in the process of making love. We respect that at Safe Coastal Wildlife. So don't, you know, we're not perverts. So we don't want to separate them while they're in the process of making out. So if you find a swimming pair, leave it alone, count it as a swimming pair. A swimming pair is when you have a male and female together. The females in the front and the males in the back. And that's a swimming pair. And they're looking for a spot to lay eggs. All right, so leave them alone, count them as a swimming pair. And then you're going to find a burrowed pair. A burrowed pair, that's a female and a male, and they're in the process, they're actually laying eggs. So the female will dig a hole in the sand, lay the eggs, the male will then move up, fertilize those eggs, and then they'll go their merry way and lay some more eggs or something like that. So a burrowed pair is really, really important to find. Unfortunately, we don't find too many, at least on my beach, or Joe Sheridan's and my beach over Atlantic Islands. We don't find too many burrowed pairs, but every once in a while we do. And those are really, really important because those are the ones that are starting the next generation. That's the ones that are laying eggs. And then the clusters, again, we don't want to separate them, but those are usually, there's a female in the center and she's surrounded by 3, 4, 5 males or more in some cases. So, you know, the female's letting go of this really sort of perfume-like thing. What's it called, Christine?
Pheromones.
Pheromones.
So she's letting go of this stuff, this really sweet smelling perfume. It's attracting all these males, and these males just want to grab her behind and start mating with her. And she's trying to, I don't mean to be facetious, but really that's what it is. And she's trying to, you know, find the right one. So yeah, that's a cluster. We don't want to separate those either. So really only time you want to pick up and tag crabs are when they single. We find a lot of single males, very few single females, very few. So don't be
So is
surprised.
there a goal to tag females and males both?
Only if they're single. Only if they're single.
Yeah, if they were single.
Yeah. And then dead crabs. Every once in a while, we'll find some dead crabs on the beach, males, females. If you can't figure out their sex, sometimes they're so beaten up and decomposed, you can't figure out their sex. Just write, you know, unknown. That's fine. But that's it. This is the most important data. Again, this is what we do. This is what we do.
Write the number down.
So make sure you text me or email me this data when you're all done at night. Not all of you do, just pick one beach captain at each site to give me the data. Usually I think it's Laura that sends it from Sandy Hook. Paul usually sends it from Keyport, and then Christine usually from Cliffwood Beach.
So you
Joe.
did it electronically, Joe? We just keep the hard copy?
Yeah, you keep the hard copy.
Okay.
If you just want to take a picture of this sheet and just send that to me, that's fine as well too. You could do that.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do, but just make sure I get this data as quick as possible.
Joe, what if you find a crab that already has a tag on it?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you find a horseshoe crab that has a tag on it already, that's important. We need to know that. So write that down and then give that to me as well too, because I will send that to Fish and Wildlife. By the way, if you do find a horseshoe crab with the tag, you yourself can call that into Fish and Wildlife. In the past, they would give you a little pewter pin, horseshoe crab pin. So that's well worth calling in. I don't know if they still do that. Their budget's
Probably a
been
budget cut.
yeah. I don't know if they still do, but it's well worth it calling in. That at the very least you'll get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
On the tally sheet, there's also, I believe you want to know the total males at the end of the night and the total females at the end of the night, even though that might not be on the sheet.
Yeah, Thank you. Yep.
I think there have been occurrences of oversight, mathematical oversight. It's important to remember that when you're counting a pair, whether it's a burrowed pair or a swimming pair, there's one male and one female. And somehow, like, sometimes that can be missed mathematically. So, you know, at the end of the night, when everybody's tired and tabulating that sheet, when you're sandy and dirty, be careful with those numbers.
That is true. That's very, very good advice from Christine. Yep, absolutely true. I try to check the math, but I'm not that good at math. So so sometimes I mess up too. We do the best we can, but if you can, make sure, yeah, just try to check those numbers and just make sure they're all good. All right, so that's really it for me, guys, boys and girls, ladies and gents. So I didn't want to keep you that long. Probably kept you too much longer than I wanted to. But do you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, especially the new people? Any questions?
About tagging the crabs. What kind of training and of what equipment?
So we're going to have an official training for everybody
Okay.
sometime at the end of April. Somewhere around there, I'll send an email out. We'll do a Zoom thing like we're doing tonight. And I'll give more information about the equipment for tagging crabs. But correct me if probably, Frank, you know the bid. What was the bid on that? Like it's a 532 or something?
532.
30 seconds.
532.
So you need that. And then you need some antiseptic. You need a ruler. You need the tags. I think that's it.
Hey, Joe, I've got all types of rulers, and one of them is like a flexible one. Can you use that, or does it need to be a straight edge? You know, 'cause I've got ones, they have ones that flex.
I know, but you have to use whatever everybody uses.
Yeah, so
Oh, Christine, what do you guys use?
We use straight rulers that measure millimeters. So you want to make sure you've got a metric ruler. I think straight may be easier than flexible, simply because you get the flailing arms of the.
you measure them upside down.
Right. We turn it over and measure at the widest part of the shell directly across.
Okay.
So it's the width, carapace width.
Right.
Yeah, don't do length. Don't do length.
Okay.
Some crabs are easy. You can get that number there very fast, but some are very rambunctious and don't want to be measured.
By the way, dude, just again, we've been doing this for a long time. So lots of stories, lots of horror stories, lots of good stories I have to share with people. If we had all night, I would certainly share some of these stories. But looking at Laura, I remember she texted me one year, several years ago, and said the tags that I gave her didn't fit the hole. Remember that, Laura?
Yeah, there was like a nib at the bottom and they were just sliding right off. So I took up pliers and
So
snipped all the tags.
Words of wisdom. But I found out what happened. So it turns out there's two sizes of tags. And I must have gave you, I don't know what happened. That's the tags they gave me. And I must have just gave you that bag of tags with those weird extra small or extra large tags or something. So, you might get a bag of tags that are a little weird or something. Just let me know. We'll try to figure it out. But we'll ask other beach captains like Laura and see what they did in the past and what worked for them.
Yes.
Any questions?
Hey,
Anybody?
Joe,
I didn't scare anybody off.
So the dates I have, May 11th, 26th, June 10th, and June 24th as the new and full moons in May and June.
I have, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong month.
May 11th, May 11th.
May 11th.
Yeah, so look at the calendar, full moon and new moon nights in May and June. That's when we're out there. Times, it's usually between 8:30 and 9 o'clock we're out there. You figure it's going to take about an hour, especially if there's some crabs out there. If there's not many crabs, it probably won't take that long. Usually the first night we're out there, that first May night, there's not many crabs. Usually the peak is around the end of May, early June. And then the last time we're out there in June, there's not that many. And again, weather is a big factor. It's cold in May, that water's cold. So I know Joe Sheridan's tough. He goes out there in shorts. But for the rest of us, like myself, we like to wear waders or hip boots. That's my suggestion, especially if you're going to go out in the water and look for these crabs. Normally we'll go out there in the shallow part, 3-4 feet out there and look for crabs. So if you want to do that, that's my suggestion, is to invest in some waders or hip boots.
There was one of the things that I'm going to recommend is everybody go and shop for the most powerful headlamp that you can possibly find.
Yep.
Now, I'll tell you something though. Last year, we switched over to red lights in Atlantic Highlands. We were using these bright lights, and we were finding any crabs. And I swear to God, as soon as I switched because I had a flashlight that had both red and regular lights, and as soon as I switched over to the red light, all these crabs started popping up all over the place. Right, Joe Sheridan?
That's exactly right.
So there
It's
is
a miracle.
Yeah. Somebody told me, and it might be true, that the bright lights, the horseshoe crabs don't light them because they're very light sensitive. They have like 10 eyes, and they're very sensitive. And so you could try with the bright light, see what you get. You could try with the red filter on it, see what you get. Let me know what works for you.
Okay.
Right, I think I have one, so.
The only problem with the red filter is it's hard to see, especially if the water is very turbid, and which it often is in San Joke Bay and Raritan Bay. So, again, use what works for you, and just let me know.
How does the filter work? Does it fit specifically onto can you buy them to fit the headlamp?
So most headlamps, I think like the better flashlights come with now a red filter on it, especially headlamps. Headlamps.
The switch and it goes white, and then there's another time you switch it and it could be red, and then you turn it off. So they're just built in.
Yeah, your newer ones have that. Otherwise, you could just go to a craft store, get some cellophane, red cellophane, and put a rubber band around that and put that on the. That's what we used to do in the park system a long time ago. All right, so I'm going to leave you. People often ask me, where can I find really good information about horseshoe crabs? Good book right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Horseshoe Crab, Biography of a Survivor. If you wanted to get more information, you can go to Amazon, get it used. Probably cost you like $2-3. Horseshoe Crab, Biography of a Survivor by Anthony D. Fredericks. Fredericks. I've read many books about horseshoe crabs. This is my favorite as far as giving the best overall information about a horseshoe crab. Really good information. Came out in 2012. Still really, really good. 2012, good year, as opposed to 2020. And 2021 so far.
Hey, Joe, I had a question for you.
Yeah, Paul.
Did you get any information back from those glue-on tags?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So a couple years ago, probably 3 years ago now, One of the things we did when we became a nonprofit, one of the first things that we did, actually, I think we weren't quite a nonprofit yet, but we got these acoustic tags. We got 4 or 5 acoustic tags that we glued on to the horseshoe crabs because we wanted to know more information, right? We want to know what happened because the plastic tags only work if somebody finds them. So we wanted to put in these acoustic tags, very similar to what they do with sharks. So every time a shark goes around this buoy, it gets a little ping and you get a little piece of data on where that shark is going around in the ocean. We want to do the same thing with horseshoe crabs. So we spent about $3,000-$4,000, got these acoustic tags. There's a couple of buoys that Monmouth University has out in Sandhook Bay and Raritan Bay.
Holy shit.
We partnered with them and we got some data, but not that much data. We could only afford 4 tags. They were pretty expensive. But we got some data. One of the, I think the most interesting piece of data we got from that was that in Raritan Bay near Keyport, that seems to be a hot spot where the crabs, like all the crabs that we tagged were hanging out in that one spot. So Keyport seems like Keyport, Aberdeen, that area seems to be really, really important. Which makes me think, I think there's like 2 or different like subpopulations of horseshoe crabs. Like there's a population that stays in Raritan Bay all year. And I think there's a population that's like goes into Sandhook Bay and then goes out in the Atlantic Ocean and then comes back, that migrates. I don't know, that's just a theory I have, but I like to do more of that. And hopefully through the Horseshoe Crab Recovery Committee that we're part of now, we could, because those guys are real science orientated. There's like real scientists on there. And so hopefully we could partner with them and do another project like that, but with their help and their assistance. And maybe they'll give us some money to help pay for those tags as well too. Yeah, that's a good question, Paul.
Thanks, Joe.
Anybody else? Okay, guys, it's 8:30. Thank you for spending an hour with me. I appreciate it. So we'll do a training with everybody in around April, end of April. But meanwhile, think about what I talked about. If you have any questions, any concerns, let me know. Make sure you send me your cell phone number before we start going. And if you do have any questions, let me know. Always happy to help. And otherwise, I just really want to thank you guys for being a part of this project. I can't do it by myself. I don't even want to try that. So I thank you, all of you, so much for your time, your help, your wisdom, your knowledge. Thank you so much for all the good things that you guys do. I really appreciate you guys helping me out on this project. It's really, really important as we try to protect our horseshoe crab population. As often mentioned to people, the forgotten horseshoe crab population in Raritan Bay and Sandhook Bay. So thank you so much for your help. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.